Hello, everyone. We are live on a Monday evening for our Aus Watch Football live stream, our catch up on everything regarding Australian football from the past week and everything that's coming up this coming week as well. There's a lot to get through. We're sort of in this really interesting period where this last week there's been a bit of a lull. There's been a bit of quiet, but it's the quiet before the storm because there's a lot coming up. Obviously, the young Socceroos have kicked off their Under-20 World Cup campaign. We've got the Australian Championship getting underway next week, and then the week after that, the A-League men's getting underway. So it is about to get super, super hectic. The Socceroos are back in action as well. We should mention that also. So there's a lot to talk about in today's live show, and we would love for you guys to join the conversation in the live chats. Drop your thoughts on anything regarding Australian football in the live chat. And happy Monday to you as well. Leia Center 23 joining us in the live chat on this beautiful Monday evening. Hope you guys are well. We were live roughly 14 hours ago, the early hours of this morning, to watch the young Socceroos unfortunately fall to defeat in their opening game of the Under-20 World Cup. The review for that game is out right now on the channel. My thoughts on it, again, just to sum that up, it was a promising performance from Australia. It was a good performance. There's a lot to take away from that game. The result itself is disappointing, and it means now that we have to get results against Argentina and Cuba. But very excited that tournament is now underway. We've got the Argentina game on Thursday morning, and then Sunday morning is the Cuba game. So we'll be doing live watch longs for those games involved. Sorry, I was just started reading Troy's comment there. We'll be doing live streams for those games. Troy says here, "Hey Lockie, what does this live stream involve?" Dude, I was reading your comment at the same time I was talking there. Troy, good to see you here, man. Yeah, this is going to be we're sort of trialing a slightly different format here, where we've done a few of these live streams where they're generally on a specific topic. So 2 weeks ago, we did an A-League deadline day live stream. Last week, it was all about A-League hot takes, and that was very fun as well. So there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Australian football. Obviously, when the A-League gets underway, that's going to be the main focus of these live streams. These Monday recaps will sort of be a recap of the past A-League round. So that's going to be the focus for these Monday live streams. And g'day, Tanley. Good to see you here as well. And Tanley, thanks for joining us this morning for our live watch along, which was, again, just only like 14 hours ago now. But we are back here. So we are going to shortly start talking about the Australia Cup final. It is this weekend, the Australia Cup final. How are you guys feeling about it? Sam's joining us here live as well. G'day, Sam. I'm well. It's going well. It's going well, Sam, and I hope you're well also. And I hope everyone has had a great Monday, great start to the week. But the Australia Cup final is this coming Saturday. We'll be doing a live watch along for that one as well. Big week in Australian football. On top of that, we've got the Asian Champions League Elite and Asian Champions League 2 as well. A lot happening. Thank you very much for this kind comment. Very random. However, I must let you know you're my favorite top YouTuber. There isn't a video missed, nor will I ever. Keep up your amazing work, brother. We love you. Really appreciate that comment, mate. That's very kind. Very, very kind. But let's jump into the discussions now. We are going to start off by talking about the Australia Cup final. Heidelberg United taking on Newcastle Jets. Who will win the 2025 Australia Cup? Who will be the winners? This is a really tantalizing matchup because you look at what these two teams have offered in this cup run so far. Heidelberg United, who have been regularly defeating A-League opposition on the way to this final. Just the second ever non-A-League side to qualify for the Australia Cup final. And then we've got Newcastle Jets, this team who we historically haven't necessarily gone on these super deep runs into the Australia Cup. They've made it to the final, and it's their first opportunity to win a major piece of silverware since all the way back in 2008. That was when they won the A-League men's grand final. So this is a huge opportunity here for Newcastle Jets. And not just for Jets as a club, but also should note new head coach Mark Millian, who's 4 games into the job, and he's gotten Newcastle Jets to a cup final. It is certainly a huge achievement for that club. Hey, look, I want to start off by talking about each club's run into the final throughout the Australia Cup, how it's gone for these two individual teams. First of all, we'll take a look at Heidelberg United here, champions of NPL Victoria, such a fantastic league season, and they've carried that form across to the cup. Obviously, they went through the preliminary rounds, but looking just at the final rounds here, round of 32, 2-0 win against Western Bears, 3-0 win against Western Sydney Wanderers in the round of 16. You might remember we did a live watch along for that one, and that was the real statement, I think, from Heidelberg United. That's when they really announced themselves, because I feel like there's a bit of hype surrounding Western Sydney Wanderers heading into this new A-League campaign, and they cleaned them up 3-0. I mean, Wanderers had a lot of the ball in that game. They did create some chances, but the defensive strength and the defensive organisation there from Heidelberg United was fantastic in that game. To keep the clean sheet, to maintain that clean sheet, and to score 3 goals, and to take their opportunities when they got them as well. That was only the beginning, really, for Heidelberg United as well. They were just getting started there, weren't they? Because the results kept flowing for them. That 4-0 win against Wellington Phoenix, unbelievable result there. Just ran away with it in that second half. And then the 2-0 win against Auckland FC. Now, that was the game that I was looking at, that semi-final there against Auckland FC, the reigning A-League men's premiers, who they themselves had a really good inaugural Australia Cup run. I thought, look, this Heidelberg United team, we know they're fantastic. They've already defeated a couple of A-League opposition opponents, but up against Auckland FC, man. Up against Auckland, I thought that was going to, surely they can't defeat the A-League premiers. Not only did they defeat them, they kept them scoreless, and they scored 2 goals against them. And again, it was a really similar display, really, in all 3 of those games against those A-League oppositions. But against Auckland FC, a quality side, Auckland were fielding a very strong 11, experienced quality players. And Heidelberg United just outclassed them in the end. They've done it on numerous occasions. And this is leading a lot of people to expect Heidelberg United to go into this game as favourites. You look at what this team has done throughout this cup run, and you look at not just the results, but the fact that they've kept so many clean sheets now. They haven't conceded a goal in the final rounds of the Australia Cup. 3 times against A-League opponents, haven't conceded a goal. This is an unprecedented run in the Australia Cup for an NPL side. It really is historic. And this run regardless of whatever happens in this final, this run from Heidelberg United will go down in Australia Cup history for decades to come. I really do believe that. And look, it's even bringing up the conversation, suggesting that maybe the gap between, the NPL competitions and the A-League is maybe getting a bit closer, which is a good thing. Troy here in our live chat saying, come on, Heidelberg. And that's the thing. I mean, I guess, look, they may well be favourites, but they're still underdogs at the end of the day, because they're coming up against Newcastle Jets, who are an experienced A-League side. Tarnley in a live chat saying here, I think Heidelberg will lift the trophy as well. And then Leah Senna dropping in a prediction here, 1-1, saying Heidelberg will win 5-3 on pens. I'll be dropping my prediction a little bit later as well, so because it's a tricky one to predict, that's for sure as well. But look, so much excitement and hype around Heidelberg United, but we should focus on Newcastle Jets as well, because they have had a really impressive cup run also. 2-1 win against Adelaide United in the round of 32, so tough start coming up against a fellow A-League side. Cooks Hill United, I was at that game. It was a great occasion for Newcastle. You had Cooks Hill United, the local sort of NPL side who had made it to the round of 16. Huge occasion for them, hosting their local A-League side. Newcastle Jets just far too strong on that evening, 5-0. And then a 3-0 win over MacArthur FC. And again, similar to what I was saying with Heidelberg United and their result against Auckland, as well as that result against Wanderers, that was the result for Newcastle Jets, where I was like, okay, this Jets side might be the real deal this season. They might be the real dark horse heading into this A-League season. And after that result against the reigning Australia Cup winners, MacArthur FC, that gave them the belief to get all the way through to the final. 4-2 win against Avondale FC. A game that wasn't necessarily easy for Newcastle. They started really brightly in that match, but Avondale bounced back and made it 2-2. But Newcastle pulling through in the end, and even some of the substitutes coming off the bench in that game. Eli Adams with a fantastic goal in that game as well. So you look at, it's interesting comparing the two teams and their runs to the final, and you can see from Newcastle Jets, goals. So that is a big reason why this cup final is so fascinating, because you've got Heidelberg United, who have not conceded a goal in the final rounds, coming up against Newcastle Jets, who have been scoring goals for fun. And we should highlight some of their exciting attacking players that they have. Kota Mizunuma, Whether it's Lockie Rose or Ben Gibson leading the line as well. Xavier Burton-Cello has been very good. This youngster playing off the left wing who's recently signed a contract for the upcoming season at Newcastle Jets. He's been great, but the new signings of Max Burgess and Alex Battleado have also been very, very good. Callum in our live chat here saying Jets will miss Battleado, but I think still win. That's one thing that we certainly have to highlight. Newcastle Jets missing Alex Battleado, and that segues nicely into talking about the lineups that we could see for this game. So the lineup that we're looking at here is from Google. This is from the semi-final, the win against Avondale FC. Now, I should say I don't think the formation is quite accurate here coming from Google. Grozos is playing a little bit more high as a defensive midfielder. It is more of a 4-3-3, if you can sort of picture it like that. And it's been working brilliantly for Newcastle Jets so far. Grozos sort of playing as that holding midfielder, and Battleado and Burgess, these two new midfield signings, have been looking fantastic in the middle of the park. I've been especially impressed with Max Burgess, who we should really highlight because this is a guy who we really feel for, just completely frozen out at Sydney FC last season. It was a real shame. He'd been in that club for many years, and he just wasn't wanted there. That was obvious. He just wasn't getting any game time at all. He's gone to Newcastle Jets, and he's seemingly revived his career here and is in fantastic form. And with, as Callum says here, no Battleado for Newcastle Jets. We know that he's over in South America with the young Socceroos. There is a lot of pressure now on Max Burgess to really lead, I was going to say lead the line, but really lead by example in the heart of midfield there, because he's a top player. And without Battleado, a lot of pressure on Max Burgess. But Aquilina, Wilmering in those wide roles, attacking from the fullback positions. And again, like I said earlier, Burton-Cello has been very good, got on the score sheet in the semi-final. We know Mizunuma is always a threat as well. And even the players who haven't been starting, I mean, Clayton Taylor, Eli Adams, we'll see how much, whether they feature in the final as well. So there's maybe some selection headaches as well for Mark Milligan heading into this game as well. That's for sure. So it's a big game coming up for Newcastle Jets. Very good to see how they line up. Heidelberg United, how will they line up as well? Because we know that they've been pretty consistent with their starting 11 up to this point. It's been a long time since that semi-final. This was their semi-final lineup against Auckland FC. This 4-2-3-1, but the way they defend, everyone is involved when it comes to defending. Bourgeois has been very, very good leading the line for Heidelberg this season, not just in the Australia Cup, but in the MPL Victoria season as well. Yokokawa has been very good also. Now, we should highlight Sabit Nyor, who has been on loan from Central Coast Mariners at Heidelberg United this year. Reportedly, he is back training with Central Coast Mariners, and it looked like he featured in a preseason friendly for the Mariners this past weekend. So whether Sabit Nyor is involved in the final this weekend, I was expecting that he would be, but it looks like he's back training with Mariners. So not sure whether he'll be involved in this game. We'll keep an eye on it. That will be a disappointing one for Heidelberg if he isn't involved in the final. I'm sure he's been with obviously Heidelberg United throughout this entire Australia Cup run. So it'd be great for him to be involved, but we'll keep an eye on what happens there with Sabit Nyor. But I would expect a pretty similar lineup here for Heidelberg United heading into the Cup final, this 4-2-3-1. Those two defensive midfielders, I mean, Leslie Otis has been really good in this Australia Cup run. Former Melbourne Victory, Melbourne City player there as well. A few former A-League players in that lineup for Heidelberg United, and they've just got a fantastic team, great balance, and going ahead on a counter-attack. That's going to be the thing as well for Newcastle Jets, who may well have more possession in this game, the Jets. Is going to be about making sure that, when they are pressing up, committing numbers forward, those fullbacks, as we spoke about a moment ago, Wilmering, Aquilina, pushing high up the park. If there's space opening up at the back for Newcastle Jets, what we've learned from watching Heidelberg United in the Australia Cup is that they will punish you. They will get in behind. They've got the pace to get in behind and score goals. They've done it against numerous A-League oppositions this year. So it could certainly happen once again. Look, it should be a fantastic match. In terms of my prediction, it's a really, really tricky one. We know this game is being played down in Melbourne at Lakeside Stadium, which isn't Heidelberg United's home stadium, we should state. But we would imagine they would have the majority of the fans. Obviously, Newcastle Jets not doubting the fact that they're going to be bringing many, many fans, potentially thousands of fans down to Melbourne for what is their first final in a very, very long time now. Of course, the grand final in 2018, we shouldn't forget. But in terms of score prediction, I am expecting this to be a close game. Look, I think Newcastle Jets do finally break through and score a goal. I think Heidelberg United do concede a goal in this game. And I think it could well go to extra time. I seriously think so. I think these two teams will be evenly matched throughout the whole contest. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw all the way through to the end of extra time. I think these teams will be really evenly matched. Again, you've got fantastic attack coming up against a superb defense. It's so hard to split. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to go Heidelberg United to win on penalties as well. I think you look at what this team has done, the fairy tale that they've been on, and I think they go all the way and win it, which would be an incredible story for Australian football. But it really is hard to split. Again, with my prediction there, it could seriously swing either way. But Heidelberg United, I think maybe they get over the line in a penalty shootout. It's set to be a really, really exciting game. So let me know your predictions. Jump in the live chat, jump in the comments. Let me know who's going to win this game. Who do you think will be coming out on top and winning the Australia Cup final for 2025? Tay says, Jets to win, easy. And that's right, yeah, Leia Center, you had the same prediction as well, right? The 1-1 with a penalty shootout. Troy's dropping a prediction in his. Also says 1-1. Heidelberg to win 2-1 in extra time. Yeah. Triple O here saying, I bet on a good defense over a good offense. And dude, that's an interesting question. Will Heidelberg qualify for the AFC if they win? Yes. So as we know, the winners of the Australia Cup qualify for the Asian Champions League 2. I mean, we'll see. We imagine so, unless there's anything stopping them from doing that. Obviously, it's going to be a really unique situation having a non-A League team playing in an Asian Champions League competition. But it's going to be really fun to watch. It's going to be really cool to see if that does indeed happen. That's the other thing that we should mention. I mean, Asian football is on the cards here for the winner of this game. So it's a huge match, not just for the trophy itself, the Australia Cup, but to qualify for the Asian Champions League 2. MacArthur did it last year, and they're currently in the Asian Champions League 2. I tell you what, I mean, like, imagine if they win the AFC. I tell you what, like, with the last couple of years in the Asian Champions League 2, the Australian sides have done really well. The Mariners winning it in 2024. Obviously, it was a different format back then. And then Sydney FC making it to the semi-finals last season. And we'll see how MacArthur go. They didn't start very well. They lost a couple of weeks ago, but match day 2 coming up this week. So, yeah, it's a very, very interesting proposition, this idea of Heidelberg United playing in the competition. And look, they deserve it with what they've shown us in this cup run and even in their league season. And hey, the story's not over. Even if they lose this game, as we know, Heidelberg United will be involved in the Australian Championship, and that's going to be a big topic for our live stream next Monday evening. We're going to be doing a big deep dive on the Australian Championship. That's right. If the Mariners can win it, why not Heidelberg? I mean, Heidelberg United. You know what's funny? Central Coast Mariners won the AFC Cup in 2024. And just a few months later, in the round of 32 of the Australia Cup, Heidelberg United defeated Central Coast Mariners, for those who remember. Being a Mariners fan, I remember it very well. But Heidelberg United defeated the reigning AFC Cup winners. So, hey, what does that tell us? But yes, we will be doing a live watch along for the Australia Cup final this weekend, so make sure to join us for that as well. As choices you don't want to remember. I mean, yeah, man. As Mariners have had a really, really poor run of form in the Australia Cup in recent years, unfortunately. All right, in a moment, we're going to be talking about the Socceroos squad. Now, we've got games coming up against Canada and against USA in a few weeks' time. And it feels like I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this online. I feel like these games have sort of caught us by surprise. I'm guessing because it's the last time Socceroos played was only just a couple of weeks ago, so it feels like it's coming around really quick. So we're going to be doing our own Socceroos squad prediction, talking about who we could see named for Tony Popovic's squad. So we're going to be chatting about that in just a sec. If you guys have any players you'd like to see in the Socceroos squad, which could well be announced later this week. We don't know exactly, but we'll see. Let us know who should be selected for the Socceroos squad. Tarnley asks, will promotion and relegation start next year? Imagine Heidelberg United get promoted. No, there's no plans for that. And I don't think we'll see that for a long time, unfortunately. Yeah. Obviously, it's great to have the Australian Championship getting up and running. As Troy says here as well, question, how would that work financially for an NPL team to travel and whatnot in AFC? That's the thing as well, the financial side of it. So it'll be very interesting to see how it actually all pans out. G'day, Ethan. Ethan says, I think Heidelberg win 2-0. Definitely too good. Yokokawa is so good. Yep. He's been great. Very impressed. Very, very impressed with Yokokawa. Attacking midfielder for Heidelberg United, who's been scoring goals as well. Yeah. All right. We're going to be talking about the Socceroos squad now, folks. It is, look, we don't know when it's going to be announced exactly, but it should be later this week. We're expecting it to come. They usually announce the squads on the Friday, the week before the games get underway. So it could be this Friday, it could be later. We don't know. Tay Burns throwing in some names here for the Socceroos squad, saying Goodwin. I assume you mean Craig Goodwin. Aaron Kunda and Toure. Yeah. Also says Gauchi. I reckon we will see Gauchi in there. I will be pulling up my Socceroos squad prediction in just a moment, but we'd love to hear from you guys. Who would you like to see in the Socceroos squad? Callum here says, hope he leaves the A-League players until the November window. Segicic is the big one for me. If he doesn't get capped in this window, I think it's no World Cup for him. Yeah, it's an interesting one with Adrian Segicic. He was obviously included in the most recent Socceroos squad, didn't get a single second on the pitch. But as I think Tony Popovic said in some interviews, right, how it was all about getting him involved in the camp and giving him that experience. And that's what we're seeing from Tony Popovic, is that sometimes he does this. He calls players up, but won't give them a second on the pitch. It happened to Max Ballard. He was called up, wasn't given any minutes. And then literally a few minutes into his debut in Canberra a few weeks ago, he scores. So who knows? Could we see a similar sort of story pan out for Adrian Segicic? Goodness me, that's a throwback, Ethan. Danny Alsop. Wow. Taking me back to, 2007? You know, some of my earliest memories of the A-League, I was a kid. I wasn't tiny, but I was a kid. Some of my earliest memories of watching the A-League is Danny Alsop tearing it up for Melbourne Victory. So that's certainly a throwback. Troy says, surely Ballard will feature again. Surely. But based off what we saw from those last couple of games from Max Ballard, he has to be in the squad again. I don't think that's my biased Mariners view. He scored on his debut and then started that second game over in Auckland. And I thought he was brilliant. Who do you desperately want to see in the Socceroos squad? I'll go through my prediction in just a moment because there's some players who I'd love to see called up, that's for sure. Tay also says Segicic has to make it. Sam says, I think Matty Ryan will be back in the squad as he's playing consistently for Levante. I think so. I agree. I think he has to be called back shortly. And before we jump to the lineup here, last question. Tarnley says the question is, will Popovic continue to experiment or play his preferred World Cup squad? It's a great question, Tarnley, and it's something that we talk about a lot. Look, the World Cup is still a decent amount of time away, but not that many windows away. So, how do you guys feel? We're now entering October. The World Cup is in July, right? June, July? It's in July, isn't it? With the World Cup still, 6-8 months away, whatever. Is this the time to really start locking in that starting 11 and get them gelling together? Or do you still use these next couple windows to still experiment, try out some players in different positions, try out some players who maybe haven't been getting, too many minutes for the Socceroos recently? Yeah, it's interesting. It's certainly interesting. Cameron Pepignon, yeah. He's one who's, I think, maybe on the fringe. I don't know if he's probably close enough to make the crack just yet, just because there's attacking sort of midfield positions, those number 10 roles are so competitive at the moment. And Troy also says here that Izzo, too, is playing regularly. Indeed, he is. He's back for Randers, which is great to see. Back from injury and back for the Socceroos as well. All right. So we are going to do our Socceroos squad prediction now, going through each of the positions and picking out players who I think should be called up to the Socceroos squad for the upcoming games against Canada, against the USA, and we'd love to hear from you guys as well. Who would you like to see included in the squad? So we're going to be going through our team. This is the positions we've got mapped out. We're going to be filling up this graphic. And just to make it easier, we're going to be highlighting. There are a few new players, returning players, who I will be naming in the squad, and I'll make sure to highlight them in green so they stand out. So those will be players who were not in the most recent squad for Australia, but I reckon should be included in this upcoming squad for Tony Popovic. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump into it. We're going to talk about goalkeepers and defenders, and here is the big reveal. This is my prediction for the Socceroos squad for the backline. All right, so you can see there, first of all, the goalkeepers, Matty Ryan, Paul Izzo, Joe Gauci. I think Matt Ryan surely has to return here. He was left out of the most recent window, but he didn't have a club at that time. Levante has signed Matty Ryan, and he has been starting for the La Liga club. Surely Matty Ryan now returns for the Socceroos. He's the captain of the side. But that goalkeeper position is really interesting because you've got Matty Ryan, again, the captain of the side, but Paul Izzo, who put in two phenomenal performances against New Zealand over the last month, and then Joe Gauci, who we know is a fantastic goalkeeper as well. So this feels like a really strong position we're in right now, where in terms of the goalkeeper position, where you'd sort of be happy for any of these guys to get a run. So, and with Izzo and Gauci performing, it's going to, force Matty Ryan to really lift his level and make sure that he's performing for Australia. Because, again, with those performances that we saw recently from Paul Izzo, he could easily step up and even overtake Matty Ryan as that starting goalkeeper for Australia. But I think it's easily that three, so I think Tommy Glover does drop out. At right wing back, I've got Miller and Karacic. Now, Karacic was included in the last squad, but missed out due to injury. He did have to pull out, and Iredale came in. I think we will see both of those players included in the squad. That's what I would like to see. Karacic has been playing regularly in the league so far for his club side. You look at those centre-back options, again, no real surprises there. Chikati, Deganek, Rolls, Iredale, Burgess, Matthews in there as well. Look, I was toying with the idea of maybe including Jason Guerrier. He hasn't played too much football recently, just returning in the last few weeks for his club in Japan. But I do love Jason Guerrier. I think he's a fantastic defender and versatile as well. Whether he plays, on that sort of that right side of those three centre backs, or even as a right wing back as well. So Jason Guerrier, whether he comes back into the lineup, that'd be interesting. I think maybe it's still a little bit too early with him just returning to competitive action for his club side. The only other player that I was considering putting in the centre back positions was Gianni Stensness, who recently returned from a long-term injury for his club side over in Norway at Viking. But again, probably still too early for Gianni Stensness. But again, I'm a big fan of Gianni Stensness. I think he's a top player, and I think he could slot somewhere in that back line when he is fully fit and fully recovered from injury. So left wing back as well. You will see there I've included another new player, Jacob Italiano. I think it's time for the versatile wing back to get the call up here for the Socceroos. Jody Boss, of course, has to be there. He's arguably Australia's best player. But Jacob Italiano, I think, should get the call up. And look, I'll tell you right now, for me, he's getting the nod ahead of Silvera, who hasn't necessarily been starting regularly for Middlesbrough. But Jacob Italiano has been playing regularly, week in, week out, getting 90 minutes for his club side in Austria. Versatile player as well, whether he plays at left wing back, right wing back, can even play further up the pitch. He's a player who's just worked so hard over the years. You might remember he came through at Perth Glory a number of years ago now as a youngster, made a breakthrough in the A-League, and then headed over to Europe pretty early on in his career, and has just been, again, working really, really hard over there. And I think he deserves a call-up. I think it's worth looking at Jacob Italiano. And it feels like that area of the park, Geordie Boss has that position locked down. There's no debating that. There is no debating that now. Geordie Boss is probably the first player on the team sheet now for Australia. But in terms of that backup left wing back role, excuse me, in terms of that backup left wing back role, we're probably looking at, Aziz Beige is probably still in the conversation. Jacob Farrell, but we know he hasn't been playing regularly for Portsmouth. Who else? I mean, maybe Callum Elder, who's at Derby County as well. But Jacob Italiano, I think, deserves a run here, and especially in this window where we're still a fair way out from the World Cup. I think it's worth having a look at Jacob Italiano for that left wing back role there as well to support Geordie Boss. Let's talk about the midfield positions, because there is a lot to talk about indeed. Because it's really interesting, because for those two central midfield positions, there's a lot of players to choose from, but we can really only include like 4 or 5 players there to compete for those roles. For me, I'm sticking with O'Neill, Yazbek, and Ballard. And I personally would like to see the return of Cammy Devlin. This is a guy who has, again, really flown under the radar, especially in recent times. Not a lot of people talking about Cammy Devlin, but he's made a great start to the season in Scotland, once again, with his club side Hearts and playing regularly. That's the key thing with some of the players that I've included here. The new players returning, they are playing regularly for their club sides. And Cammy Devlin, a really hard-working midfielder. I remember when he was coming through the A-League, featuring for Sydney FC and Wellington Phoenix and over at Scotland. Great to see him getting regular minutes. And I still think he would be a great addition to the midfield for Australia. And the player that he would be replacing there, as you can see, no Ryan Teague. It's been disappointing to see that Ryan Teague hasn't really been getting all that many minutes in Belgium. He's been sitting on the bench quite a lot, which is disappointing. And I wonder what that's going to mean for Ryan Teague, just for the future, for at least the next few months when it comes to the Australian men's national team, and whether he is able to maintain his involvement. Again, I'm a big fan of Ryan Teague. I think he's a top player. When he made his Socceroos debut earlier this year, I thought he was superb. He fitted in perfectly, Ryan Teague, coming off a great season with Melbourne Victory as well. But you look at someone like Cammy Devlin, who plays a similar role to Ryan Teague, and Devlin is playing week in, week out, getting so many more minutes than Ryan Teague. I think Devlin deserves a call-up here as well. So those are my 4 midfielders. Again, there's a number of players who could be in the mix there as well that we're not talking about. O'Neill, Yazbek, Ballard. I thought Ballard was super impressive in those couple of games against New Zealand. I thought he was super. Callum in the live chat here saying that Ballard starts over Yazbek for me. I think Devlin is also better than Yazbek. Also says, would love to see Luongo back in the mix. I think his experience would be invaluable at the World Cup. Again, another one of those names who we could see in there, Massimo Luongo. When we talk about regular game time, he's been getting some good minutes for Millwall over in the English Championship. So I'm sure he's knocking on the door as well. Let's jump into our attackers, though, now. Let's complete the lineup. Here we go. And the one new player that I'm adding in here is Zach Sapsford. It is time for the Dundee United striker to get called up for the Socceroos here, for me at least. And I would include him alongside Toure and Botic. So we've got, I believe, 26 players here, which I believe is the max we can include for this window. Toure, Sapsford, Botic leading the line for Australia. Zach Sapsford, we know he's been in good form for Dundee United. Great start to life in Scotland. I believe he's already got 4 goals so far, a couple assists as well. I think he deserves his call-up, especially considering, it's really exciting looking at those combination of strikers there. 3 really high potential young strikers coming through and have got really exciting futures. In those wide positions on the right, you're looking at Connor Metcalf, Boyle, Milanovic. I would go for Nicholas Milanovic again from Aberdeen. Great to see him make his debut in the most recent window. And on the left wing, I think we're including Iran Kunda again. I think Hrustic, it's worth putting him in the squad as well. And Adrian Segicic. Hopefully Adrian Segicic does maintain his place in the squad. He made a really explosive start to life at Portsmouth with a couple of goals really early on, scoring on his English Championship debut as well. So Adrian Segicic, maybe he's included in the squad once again, and maybe this time finally does get on the pitch for the Socceroos. I would love to see it. But again, really excited about Iran Kunda and Toure. They were so good in that game against New Zealand in Auckland. The combination going forward was just fantastic. And what we took away from those games against New Zealand is that those guys have to not only be included in the squads regularly, but probably be starting for Australia. Like your strongest Socceroos starting 11 includes Mohamed Toure and Nestor Irankunda, for me at least. Connor Metcalf I thought was really, really good as well against New Zealand, especially in that second game. So I would start a front three of Metcalf, Toure, and Irankunda. I think you go for that same front three that started the game against New Zealand in Auckland as well. So really exciting combinations there in that front third as well. Again, in the most recent squad, we didn't see Tony Popovic include this many players, so we may well see a few players drop out here. But again, just to highlight those new players in green, I think Matty Ryan surely returns. If there's going to be one player that returns, surely it's Matty Ryan. I'd be very surprised if Matty Ryan does not return. I would like to see Jacob Italiano get a call-up. I think he deserves it. Cammy Devlin, I reckon, should return in midfield. And Zach Sapsford surely deserves a Socceroos call-up based on his form over in Scotland. So let me know your thoughts. Who's missing from this squad? Join the conversation. Let us know your thoughts in the live chat. Tarnley asked the question here. Does Yangi still make the squad? I want to say yes. I want to say yes. But Cassini Yangi is at a really interesting time in his career right now. He scored a goal a few weeks back for Aberdeen, but recently doesn't look like he's been too involved. So what role? I'm not sure if he's out with injury at the moment, Cassini Yangi. I'm not sure if he's out with injury. He might be. But when you've got these strikers coming through who are really exciting, and Toure, Sapsford, Botic, who are getting some decent minutes at their respective clubs, it may well push someone like Cassini Yangi down the line. Which is interesting, because if you had asked me 6 months ago, I would have said that Cassini Yangi's probably our first choice striker, ahead of Mitch Duke and even Adam Taggart and Borello, who feels like maybe those guys have sort of dropped out of the mix as well. But it is quite interesting also. Latest 23 coming in with a hot take here. This is interesting. It says, I think both Max Burgess and Alex Grant have a good chance to be called up. They are both performing really well this preseason, so I have high hopes for them. Alex Grant's an interesting one. Because he's a player who we know, I think, was out with injury recently, wasn't he? I don't think we'll see him included in this window, but hey, if he's performing regularly for Sydney FC, we could see him join up with the side once again. We know he was called up earlier this year, right? And Max Burgess is another one. I mean, that would be tremendous, but it's not something that's impossible, because what we've seen from Tony Popovic is that he's called up the likes of Anthony Caceres and Luke Bratton, who are players who are a little bit older, who have a bit more experience, who are, into their 30s now. And Max Burgess is one of those guys who has got so much experience now, great A-League experience, and he is coming off some really great form with Newcastle Jets. Look, I'm not sure if we will see it. You've got some top players in those positions. I mean, like, you get to think, like, who's going to drop out for someone like Max Burgess. But, hey, Leo 723, I love the shout. It's a really creative shout as well. It's a really, really creative one. Yeah. It says the next window, I reckon there could be a good chance. Yeah. Possibly, yeah. I think maybe Alex Grant could be there. But, hey, I'll tell you what, it'd be really interesting to see Max Burgess in a Socceroos squad, that's for sure. Aiden asked the question, is squad coming out this week? Possibly. We don't know for sure. There's no confirmed date when the squad is coming out. But generally, we see Football Australia announce the squads on the Friday, the week before the Socceroos fixtures, which would be this Friday. But it could be later. We don't know. G'day, Water, who, jumping back to our Australia Cup final conversation, says, I really hope Heidelberg win and get into the AFC if that's possible. It would be a magic fairy tale, wouldn't it? Absolute fairy tale for Heidelberg United to go all the way in the Australia Cup, qualify for the AFC, for the Asian Champions League too. Tan Lee here mentions, so before the year end, we have one more window. I heard we might play Argentina. Yes, there was a report in the media that came out that there's something maybe being lined up with Argentina. Nothing confirmed. Yeah. Do you rate Piscopo? I think he's a real promising player, René Piscopo. I think when he's injury-free, when he's in form, he's great. And I'll tell you what, he probably set for a big season at Melbourne Victory with some of their attacking departures. Machash and Arzani departing Victory, so it could be a big season coming up for René Piscopo. Ooh, great question from Who do you want us to play before the World Cup? Great question. Look, I will say, I mean, we'll do a full preview video next week. We'll be doing like a full preview of the actual matches against Canada and USA, talking about those opponents. So first of all, I should say though that playing those two teams in North America, perfect preparation for the World Cup. You're coming up against two host nations of next year's World Cup, playing over there where the tournament is going to be held. So I think that's great. That's great preparation. So I would have said them if we weren't playing them, that's for sure. But in terms of other nations we'd like to see, I would love to hear from you guys. If we can play some high-level opposition, that'd be great. Nothing against New Zealand. That would be a great test for Australia, obviously. But it'd be interesting to see us come up against maybe some top European nations, for example. And yeah, that'd be really, really interesting. That'd be really interesting just to sort of get a gauge of where we're at. Because we know we're probably, again, in our group stage, probably going to come up against maybe a top European nation or South American team. It'll be interesting, hey? New Jets Football's joining us here. G'day, mate. Really appreciate you guys joining us for this live stream tonight. We'll be live for the next 15 or so minutes. Trying a bit of a different format tonight, guys. Let us know what you think. A bit more of a sort of a more of a free-form, relaxed sort of conversation about everything regarding Australian football. There's a lot going on at the moment. Tonight we're focused on the Australia Cup final and as well previewing the upcoming Socceroos squad. So again, this is a look. This graphic here, as you can see, this is my prediction, my personal prediction for the upcoming Socceroos squads. Would love to see Matty Ryan, Jacob Italiano, Cammy Devlin, and Zach Sapsford called up to the squad. That is right. Water Dealer here, speaking about that World Cup in North America next year. Says Water Dealer says, how good is it that Americas are hosting for us in AEST? Yep. On the East Coast of Australia, it's going to be great, isn't it? It says daytime games will be so epic. Yep. It's obviously a much more comfortable kickoff time rather than, 2 a.m. or something like that. So it's going to be awesome. New Jess says, love the concept, love this concept, mate. Really appreciate it, dude. Really appreciate it. G'day, Round Ball. Hope you guys are doing well. Did we miss the tip for the cup? It was really tricky. I was tossing up, but I'm saying Heidelberg United on penalties. I am saying Heidelberg United on penalties. Yeah. For anyone who does want to catch the look into the Australia Cup final, we chatted about it in the opening 20 minutes or so of the stream. But yes, that is my prediction at this stage, a win on penalties for Heidelberg United. 1-1 draw. In regards to the Socceroos squad, Leah Center 23 says, I would love to see Paul Ocon Jr. and Jaden Kaczarski get called up in the future. Yeah, Paul Ocon Jr., I mean, we've seen him got the call up a few months ago, right? And played this morning for the young Socceroos. He's a player who I think is probably next in line for those midfield positions. And I'll tell you what, there's even some people suggesting that Ocon Exler could maybe make a sneaky push for the World Cup squad. And moving to Sydney FC is probably a really, really smart move for someone like Paul Ocon Exler, who's going to be playing regularly in the A-League, we imagine, for the Sky Blues. And what Tony Popovich has shown us is that if you're performing in the A-League, you'll get a Socceroos call-up. He's gifted Socceroos call-ups to plenty of players who've been performing in the A-League. We think of Casey Boss, we think of Ryan Teague and Daniel Arzani, Marco Tilio last season as well. Jason Guerrier had a good first half of the season with Melbourne Victory before he departed the club. Yeah. Callum here as well says, I think Ocon and Esposito are both in the World Cup mix and will both probably be in the November squad. Yep. Obviously, they're fully focused now on this tournament that they're currently in, the Under-20 World Cup. We will be doing live watch-alongs for the next couple of games coming up later this week as well for the young Socceroos. But yes, Ocon Exler and Seb Esposito. It's a similar move for both of those guys coming back to Australia. You got Ocon Exler at Sydney FC, Esposito with Melbourne Victory, two guys looking to get some good game time in the A-League and maybe make a push for the World Cup. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, for players moving back to the A-League, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad move because it can put you back in the window for the Socceroos selection. And I imagine that's a similar thinking for someone like Denny Genro as well, who hasn't really been in the conversation for the Socceroos for the last couple of years, but we know is a super talented player. He could come in and really flourish for Melbourne Victory and could make a push for the Socceroos squad as well. Denny Genro. And this is what we want. This is what we want over this next season, this upcoming campaign, is all these players pushing each other, being aware that you've got, a handful of other players, 5, 6, 7, 8 players in your exact position who are pushing for that spot that you are. And that's what we want. We want the squad to be so competitive. We want to be upset. I tell you, what I was thinking about with soccer squads? It's okay when you're upset, when people get upset that about the squad that has been named, because it shows that we've got fantastic players who are even missing out on the squad. You know what I mean? Competition for places is so hot that there's even great players that are missing out as well. Hey. So again, this is a look at my predicted Socceroos squad. Zach Sapsford, Devlin, Italiano, and Ryan, the 3 new players returning to the squad, who I think should be included. Again, we'll keep an eye in regards to when the actual squad is announced. Could be sometime later this week. Sometimes it's on a Friday. So we'll keep an eye for that. That is for sure. Coming up later this week as well, this is a big week for Australian football. There's a whole lot going on. We've also got the Young Socceroos in action, match day 2 against Argentina. That's Thursday morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. And we've also got Cuba, the game against Cuba, coming up on Sunday morning as well. I think that one's a 10 a.m. kickoff Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is nice as well. So those 2 games coming up, we'll be doing live streams for that. And as well, Asian Champions League competitions. Melbourne City taking on Vissel Kobe. That is on this coming Wednesday for Melbourne City. They are away in Japan. And it's MacArthur SC at home for match day 2 in the Asian Champions League 2. So big games for those 2 sides. We know our A-League sides there, they both lost in match day 1. So big games coming up for those 2 teams as well. So very curious to see how those games pan out, that's for sure. Leo Center 23 backing some of those Sydney FC youngsters. Leo Center 23 says, I believe in some of Sydney's youngsters to get into the under-20s team one day, like Camijo, Lacey, McAllister, Hoofslut. Yeah, and hey, I tell you what, 4 players who could be set for big seasons for Sydney FC as well. I could see all those guys getting some really good game time as well. Yeah. Gus Hoofslut could be potentially the starting goalkeeper for Sydney FC. Match day 1 away to Adelaide United as well. Still a few more weeks away from the A-League men's season kicking off. We are very excited about that. And again, we're going to try and do these regular Monday live streams. If that's something you'd be interested in, let us know. And when we do our regular Monday live streams, the big focus is going to be on the A-League, recapping all the games, as we did a little bit last season as well. So if that's something you're keen to be a part of, let us know in our Monday night live streams. G'day, Boston. Good to see you here, mates. Day was well, mate. Day was well. It started, it did start well because I was really excited about the Young Socceroos game. Obviously disappointing that the Young Socceroos lost this morning, but it was fun to start the day with some football, that's for sure. Tan Lee says, I hope James Overy starts on Thursday. Yep, look, for this game, just to do we can sort of do a mini preview right now for game 2 against Argentina for the Young Socceroos. It's a must-win game, really. Not must-win. It's a must that we get a result from the game. If we lose that one, it puts us in a terrible position, really. So we're aiming to get at least a draw against Argentina. James Overy could be maybe a change that we see. We saw Josh and Sarah got the start at right back. I thought he was good, Josh and Sarah. Played that really nice ball over the top for Daniel Benny. But James Overy, who's on the books at Manchester United, he's a player who could get the call up for the Young Socceroos. I think we're maybe looking at also players like Max Caputo, Jalen Pearman as well, even Thiago Quintal. So many players. And that's why this Young Socceroos squad is so exciting, because it's not just, there's no real set starting 11 that stands out as the strongest. You've got so many players there on the bench who could easily come in and really perform for the young Socceroos. Speaking of young Aussie players, Tay Burns here says Sydney have the best youth right now. Tell you what, that's an interesting statement, and there's probably, yeah, I mean, I'd maybe agree. They've got some fantastic young players coming through. Just about every club in the A-League has some top young talent coming through, in Sydney FC, as I think it was Leo Center 23 who mentioned just that moment ago, a few of those young players coming through. Yeah, they've got some fantastic players who, again, could really be set for big seasons coming up in the A-League as well. Hey, Boston says, looking forward to the round 1 F3 derby. Me too, mate. Me too. It's going to be a lot of fun. Newcastle Jets, Central Coast Mariners, round 1. It'll be interesting. Got Mariners, who have been pretty quiet this off-season, and Newcastle Jets, who will be coming off that Australia Cup final. So, yeah. Those round 1 fixtures, still a few weeks away, but we've got some great matchups there, that's for sure. All right, we're going to wrap up in just under 10 minutes here. If you guys have any more questions or comments, feel free to throw them in the live chat. And you can also catch some of our segments from earlier in the live stream where we talked about the Australia Cup final, doing a little preview, and also taking a look at that Socceroos squad prediction. Boston says, I'm mates with former Mariners legend Nick Fitzgerald. That's a throwback. Nick Fitzgerald played at a number of A-League clubs as well. Leo Center 23 says McAllister, 18 years old, I think has 4 goals and he's top scorer for Sydney this preseason. Says he's going to be amazing. Yeah, Matthias McAllister. He scored in the Australia Cup as well, didn't he? Round of 32. He's a son of Dylan McAllister, great A-League striker back in the day as well. Yeah. Callum, chiming in regards to the Under-20 World Cup. Callum says, I think 4 points is enough to get through in third. Says, I do think we could beat Argentina, though we didn't look any worse than Italy, contrary to FIFA Plus's, the FIFA Plus commentator this morning. What was that about? Interesting. I didn't hear that. So we were doing the live watch along for the game this morning, so I haven't listened to the commentary. That's interesting. Yeah, I thought Australia were great this morning. Like, that's the big takeaway. I feel like everyone's, agreeing that Australia were really, really good this morning. Very, very promising signs. Just needed to take our chances. Hey, just needed to take our chances. But yeah, as you say there, Callum, 4 points. If we can, looking at Cuba, Cuba is going to be an interesting one. We really don't know what to expect. Looking at the Argentina-Cuba game, which was played early today, Argentina did defeat Cuba 3-1. And they did so with just 10 players for most of the game as well. So Cuba, you think, should be a winnable game for Australia based off how we're looking so far. So if we can get at least a draw against Argentina, that could be okay. G'day, my head. Great question. Says, hey, Lockie, do you believe Milanovic to do good this window, though his form hasn't been the best? I think so, yes. I think Milanovic should be included in the soccer squad. To pull up the graphic, we were speaking about it a moment before. I've got Nicholas Milanovic in my predicted Socceroos squad. I think he should be there. Yeah. I think he needs to be given more of a chance for the Socceroos. He's a player who still has a lot of potential, Milanovic. A lot of potential. And I think he could really offer something for the Socceroos off that right flank. So, yeah, even though he hasn't necessarily been grabbing that many goal contributions for Aberdeen, I think he's still worth putting in the squad there. But he's going to make sure he keeps performing, otherwise he could slip out of the squad. Yeah. No worries, mate. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to be wrapping up in about 5 minutes or so. So if you guys have any more questions or comments, feel free to throw them in. We're going to be live every Monday evening doing these live streams, talking all things Australian football. And no worries, Boston as well. In regards to that Socceroos squad, Tan Lee here says Denny Urich should get a look. Yeah, Denny Urich, a player who hasn't really been in the Socceroos conversation, but I've been seeing that he's been playing regularly for his club side. Attacking player, Denny Urich. Brother of Tommy Urich, if I'm not mistaken, right? Tommy Jurich, of course, former Socceroos striker. So, I mean, that could be an interesting one. I mean, another player who, again, maybe we could see make a push back into the Socceroos squad, someone like Anthony Carter, pardon me, who we know is playing over in the top flight in Portugal also. Okay. Leo Center 23 asked, what's happening with Dylan Perech-Cullen? Is he injured? I saw on a Central Coast Mariners goalkeeping training vid that he wasn't included. I don't know about any injury regarding Dylan Perech-Cullen. I believe, according to the Mariners updates from their social media this past weekend, I think Perech-Cullen was involved in preseason friendly this past weekend. So hopefully no injury there for him. Hopefully there's nothing to that. I here says we didn't see Segicic and Botic in the last window. And because of how important this upcoming window is, will we see them along with Sapsford? I reckon so. Yep, I think we can see all those guys included. I mean, I think Sapsford deserves to be in there. He was coming back from an injury in the last window. So that's, I think, the main reason why he missed out. But you look at Botic and Sapsford, and look, the fact is that Sapsford's in better form so far this season. Having said that, Botic just got on the score sheet overnight for his club in Austria. So, and I really rate Noah Botic highly. I think he's a top striker with a whole lot of potential as well. Yeah. Aussie Boxer here, g'day mate, says we have good chances to beat Canada and a US out of form who are weak at home in recent times. Aussie Boxer also says Tilio could be a chance, playing well. Yeah, Marco Tilio, again, a player who I'm a big fan of Marco Tilio. I think he has a lot to offer for the Socceroos. It feels like maybe he's competing with someone like Nicholas Milanovic for maybe that one of those winger positions, those wider roles as well. Hey, Wrapping up in a couple more minutes here. Tay Burns asks, think Ibusuki will come back to the A-League? I'm sure just about every club in the A-League would love to sign Hiroshi Ibusuki. I believe he's gone over to India, if I'm not mistaken, right? Departing Western United and going to India. As Leo Center 23 says here in the live chat as well, Ibusuki went to India, pretty sure. There we go. Is Zach Sapsford underrated? I think so. Yeah. I think people are starting to really see his value. I don't know if... I guess I would say he's underrated, yeah. I guess I would. Water here asks, any major sites planned in cities for the Oz Cup final on a big screen? Not sure about that. I think I saw on the Newcastle Jets socials something about a screening somewhere in Newcastle. So yeah, I think, which is great. No surprise that they would be doing a big screening somewhere for the final. Big occasion for Newcastle. But yeah, that's an interesting one, Water Dealer. That should be a thing. That should be, look, even if there's no team from that particular city involved in the cup final, if there's no team involved from that city, like let's just still do a screening. That'd be awesome. Hey, that'd be awesome. Really appreciate you guys joining us for this live stream tonight. We're going to be doing these every Monday. But before next Monday, we will be doing a few live streams. Before then, we're planning to be live for the 2 upcoming Young Socceroos games. So that is this coming Thursday morning and Sunday morning as well, Australian Eastern Standard Time. So join us for live watch-alongs for those games. A bit more comfortable kickoff times as well for those 2 games. This morning was like 6 a.m. So Australian Eastern Standard Time should be a bit more comfortable on Thursday and Sunday. And then we will also be live on Saturday night for the big one, the Australia Cup final. So make sure to join us for that one as well. So there's a lot going on this week. And that's why we wanted to try a bit of a different format this week with a live stream. Usually we maybe pick out a particular topic just to talk about that, or whatever, like even just a Q&A or something like that. But I sort of wanted to cover all the bases here. And that's sort of what we're wanting to do on this channel as well. It's everything. It's A-Leagues, it's Socceroos, it's Matildas, it's, even, the under-20 sides, involved at the moment as well. So there's a lot happening. Cat Rock says, great chat again. Thanks, Mark. Really appreciate it, Mark. Thanks for the comment, mate. Newcastle Jets Fan TV, g'day. Who do you think will win the Australia Cup? You can check out my full preview at the start of this stream. I think for like the first 20 minutes, we chatted about the Australia Cup final. But again, just to reiterate my prediction, I'm going to say Heidelberg United on penalties. I think they win on penalties, but it should be a great game. Should be a great game. Tan Lee says, thank you, Lockie, for giving us so much content on Australian football. Thanks, Tan Lee. Thanks, mate, for tuning in and being a regular viewer to these live streams. You've been tuning in for a long time now, so really appreciate that, mate. And guys, if you want to support, make sure you hit the like button on the way out as well. And hit subscribe so you don't miss our live streams going forward as well. Good night to you too, mate, Leo Center. Good night, Water Dealer. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night and the rest of your weeks, and enjoy and join us for our next live stream on Thursday. Young Socceroos taking on Argentina. Cheers, guys. Have a good one. See you in the next one.